Greetings, Kerbal killers. Yes, you're all Kerbal killers. You've killed them, just admit it. Anyway, welcome to behind the scenes of Kerbal Space Program Life, Universe and everything. Apologies for not being active with the series for the last 5 months. Unfortunately, something has come up in my personal life that is taking up all of my free time and a ton of money as well. So we're on behind the scenes. So let's go into our temporary universe that we use for basically a sandbox to design rockets for a specific task. Right, I've already had a few attempts at this. We are putting a base on the Mun. Yep. As most of you have already guessed, we are indeed artifact chasing. I'm going to make up a storyline based on the artifacts. We have a look here, Mun base 2. I've got one there and one there. Basically the first one was dropped in and it's a complete and utter mess. The second one that's down there, number 2, go take a look at it, is a little bit better, a little bit neater, and it's partly up and running. So just as soon as this loads, I'll talk you through it. Right, quite simple really. Okay, centre of gravity shift. On the left, I think my mouse cursor is actually hidden in fraps. Oh well. On the left here you can see me highlighting these. They're part out of Interstellar. I couldn't think of the name then. That have actually been retasked for my installation. Basically these are functioning as a bussard collector. Think of Star Trek. They're using a magnetic field to funnel particles that are floating around in space into them. Uses up quite a bit of power. This section here is basically the command post. It's got the communications on. It's got a plutonium reactor. Yeah. The those PB nuke things, whatever they were called, those little plutonium reactors. Well, I got rid of them. Instead, I retasked one of the reactor parts from Interstellar. Gave it some plutonium fuel which cannot be refueled, and set it up as basically a reactor to give us thermal energy and electric power. So that's the command pod. It also has life support filters from TAC Life Support, carbon extractor there, and the water purifier there. They're of course running quite happily. And some big life support food canisters. Of course, all of these are connected with Kerbal attachment system. Now, the particles come in here on the left, right, and get transferred to the refineries that basically use another magnetic field, magnetic bottle, to split small and large atoms, basically, into sort of usable and unusable atoms. So things like fuel comes out of this, liquid and oxidizer fuel, as well as heavy metals. the heavy metals go into these giant reactors. A dirty fission reactor, basically, that uses any of the large atoms to break down in a fission chamber into smaller ones such as helium, some hydrogen, etc. That would be what would happen in reality. And obviously it produces electric power and thermal power. At the moment I have 2 of these on. If we have a look, plenty of thermal power because there's nothing actually using it at the moment. Plenty of space plasma, that's what the Bussard collectors collect. There's plutonium that's in the reactor. Water, oxygen, carbon dioxide, wastewater, food. Where is it? There we go, heavy metals. That's the heavy metals supply for the reactors. Heavy metals cannot be sent up there from a tanker. They have to be collected, which is how I set the game up. So basically any reactor or propulsion system or any of the tanks do not come with heavy metal in them. So you can't send a tank up, you have to collect it. Which is always good fun. Plenty of monoprop, that's something else that the refineries also spit out. They do generate some monoprop. As you can see by the liquid fuel and liquid oxidizer, it's not going up that quick. It's going to take a while. And that's just to refuel the tanks that are actually built into the refineries and the tanks that are on basically the command pod. So as you can see, not a lot there. Now, first of all, you'd think, well, that's pretty easy to set up. Well, it is now. The first one wasn't. But I'm going to set up a third one. So I've made a few modifications. So I'm going to walk you through it. This is the type of testing that I have to go through. And don't forget, launching those pallets up there, they're not lightweight, and they don't like going through atmosphere at all. So we do mobile command launcher. That's the first one to go up. Now, let's just zoom out a little bit, or a lot. Nothing really to the rocket. Just pretty much as standard. So let's go ahead and launch. We're going up to them on third base. Theoretically, we can land on Minmus, but as of 23.5, there aren't actually any artifacts on Minmus. It may be worth exploring it, and even if in the future I can get something like the Open Resource System, I think it's the ORS, if I can get that system working, we may have resources that are mineable on Minmus. Anyway, let's go ahead. At 2/3 throttle and up we go. Now, one thing that's worth pointing out is the plutonium reactors themselves do have a battery pack on board, but it's uncharged at liftoff. Again, something else that I've designed. So literally, your electric charge when you start off is very low, but because you're using the engines, it generates power and starts charging. So basically at the moment it's acting as a dead weight and a really big battery. And as you can probably tell, we're at 6 frames per second. About to come up to stage release. And mark. And they fall down quite happily, no issues. Now our vertical speed does of course drop, but not by much. By an amount you'd expect it to drop by. Thanks to the super huge fins that are on this, it actually flies in a straight line. What you'll find is mostly with the rockets that I'm sending up, they pretty much all have very similar bottom stages. I think the only modification I made between them was that the pallet... Is it the pallets? Yeah, it's the pallets. When sending them up, they need struts connected to basically reinforce the central joint. And these struts are actually connected to the inner ring of orange tanks. So basically when they separate, they have a general tendency to fly all over the place. So I ended up putting modified separation rockets on them. Yep, we're at 15,000, that's fine. Right, start arching over just a touch. Right about there. It's a little bit wobbly at the moment. Let's go ahead and... oh, poo. Oh well, I took a load of fins off. Yep, oh well. It's still controllable. Mostly. So let's go ahead and arch over about 40 degrees. Stop it. That went out to 8 frames per second. go ahead and angle all the way over now. No, that's too far. Stop it. Oh, I don't have RCS on. Should point out there's two lots of RCS on this. One uses monopropellant and one actually uses liquid fuel and oxidizer. The really big RCS ports that are on the command pod use liquid fuel and oxidizer, whereas the little ones that are on the section below it, where the radial tanks are, they actually use monopropellant. The reason why I went for this is basically because I needed some really big RCS ports for manoeuvring big heavy things. When I basically just scaled up the original RCS ports, it was chewed through monopropellant like you wouldn't believe. So I decided to switch the RCS ports, the big ones, so that they're more like the ohms thrusters on the shuttle, and use liquid fuel and oxidizer. It seemed logical. Right. Let's look, see where we are. That's not bad. 92. Wonderful. Well, our target is the Mun. And unfortunately we do have to circularize, annoyingly. Sometimes I can actually launch without needing to circularize. Alright, we're almost at apogee. We don't need this to be pretty. Stop wobbling. Right about there, that'll do it. So now we need to plan an intercept with the Mun. Oops. Oh, behave. No, that's too far. Ah, I'll do. I can adjust it later. Alright, let's go ahead and swing it around. About that, and then we time warp. Now this is saying 22 seconds of burn. It's possible that we could end up running out of fuel during the burn, but I don't think so, if memory served. Although occasionally we do get a surprise. Uh-oh. Something's just gone boom. Yep, something did just go boom. Wow. Okay, so let's assess here. No RCS. No liquid fuel. Still got a parachute at least. We have one communications antenna. Got communications dish. Okay, so obviously something failed there. Unfortunately, the perigee isn't low enough to the planet to be able to catch it. So, basically, well, being blunt, this guy's not got long to live. Okay. So, obviously, I need to redesign that a little bit again. Probably something that I've put on it has caused an issue. So, I will go ahead and do that. So I'm going to do a cut sequence here and speed up editing. Back in a bit.
you.